It's been back. You see the left-handers, he's been eaten up. It's the righties that have been giving him trouble. And this is kind of a year for John to get over that mental hump on that shoulder surgery. And I think he's on his way. And I would love to end this season with a win. And the defense. Look at the defense is brought to you by Chevy.com. Offers.com, excuse me. 1 error in 40 games. You read right there for Mr. Tatis at first base. Beltran in the lineup tonight. Pagan in left. Hernandez gets the start. Not me. I'm retired. And I never play shortstop.
You know, there's a 17 at first base, and there's a Hernandez in the lineup.
How about that?
But you're here.
I'm whether you like it or not.
There's your 17 at first base.
Yep, it's a nice number.
And there's your Hernandez.
Number 11. We're going to have, there I am. We're going to have Ralph tonight, are we not?
Ralph will be here in the second inning.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Well, it's his booth.
That's right.
He's always invited.
Does he claim it?
We'll have to ask him when he slides in next to us. The only race that is left in the major leagues, well, there are actually two of them. The Dodgers and Rockies are both in the postseason, but not decided who will be the West champ or the wild card. They're playing each other, and the Rockies have to sweep to win the West. But the only race that is really on is in the American League Central, where Detroit leads by 2 over Minnesota. The Tigers are playing at home against the White Sox, and Scott Pasednik led off that game with a home run for Chicago to put the Tigers down by a run early. Minnesota plays about an hour from now at home against Kansas City. Michael Bourne leads things off for Houston. First pitch of the night is inside for ball 1.
I know you're saying there's only one race, Gary, because in an NL West, Colorado's in as the wild card, but
Bourne drives one toward the gap in left center field, and that one will roll to the wall. Bourne can fly. He hits second, takes a turn, and holds on there with a leadoff double. Well, the Mets of late have been gapping in left center, but they didn't do it there, and Bourne found the gap for his 27th double of the year.
Well, ball hit too hard, Gary, and it's a line drive. It hit the fastball away right where it was pitched. And, boy, I tell you, if you're a line drive hitter in this ballpark, you're going to get tons of doubles and triples. And nothing you can do there. Bourne is held up at second. Astros get off to a quick start. The other race here in the National League West, wouldn't it be something with 3 games left? Colorado 2 games behind Los Angeles, swept the Dodgers up in LA to win the division.
Not only could they win the division as Miguel Tejada steps in, but if the Rockies sweep, there's even a chance they could wind up with the best record in the National League.
It's unbelievable, and they're a team that is 3-12 Colorado this year against the Dodgers.
Right now the Dodgers have the most wins. They have 93. The Phillies have 92. The Cardinals and the Rockies each have 91 wins. So if the Rockies were to sweep and wind up at 94, depending on what happened with St. Louis and Philadelphia, they could not only win the division but have control of home field throughout the LCS. Bourne runs, thrown to third by Santos, right on target, and he got it. Omir Santos throws out the league's leading base stealer. Bourne, thrown out for the 12th time, leads the league with 61 steals.
Well, nice throw by, see how he backs up, clears himself of the right-handed batter, and that throw is perfect, and that is the correct call. They got him. That throw is up a waist high or above. He's safe.
And now Tejada lines a base hit into center field. That extends his hitting streak to 19 games. And leaves him just 3 shy of 200 hits for the year.
What a year for Tejada here. And here's the steal again, the attempted steal. David slaps the tag on him. Nice throw, beautiful.
Never a great idea to make that first out at third base.
Well, always felt if you're going to do it, you better be safe.
So Tejada at first with 1 out. Here's Lance Berkman. An off year by Berkman standards. He's hitting just .272, 25 homers, 80 runs batted in. Got off to a dreadful start this year. Berkman has had as many as 45 home runs and as many as 136 runs batted in. He had been over 100 RBIs 6 of the last 8 years, but he won't get there this year.
know, getting back to, well, there's another first baseman with 17. How about that?
They're breeding.
That's got hits too. That number's got hits.
2-1 to Berkman. There's a strike. 2-2. There are your umpires for tonight. Gary Cedarstrom is the crew chief. Damian Beal, the vacation fill-in. He didn't have vacation the last weekend of the season.
Really?
2-2 to Berkman with 1 out. And he swings and misses at the fastball, and Maine has his first strikeout of the night. 2 away.
Well, just a good fastball. This had plenty of plate. Just upstairs, swung right through it.
So Berkman is retired. 2 away. Now Carlos Lee. Lee hitting at .303, 26 homers, 102 runs batted in. He rarely strikes out, and Lee yesterday sat out the final game of the Astros series in Philadelphia. Only the second game he's missed this year. He's had a bit of a hand problem that's plagued him for a couple of months, but he has played through it.
Well, he has been everything advertised for the Astros since they got him over from the White Sox. He's not the greatest defensively, but he plays left field in that short left field porch in Houston. But boy, this man can hit. For a power hitter, he is a hitter.
And Maine gets ahead of a 1-2. Well, the Astros have a couple of guys, well, 3 guys with 25 or more home runs, but as a team, they are only 12th in the National League in home runs, despite playing in a great home run hitters ballpark in Houston.
Absolutely.
They've been a very tough team to figure this year. They haven't scored as much as they hoped. Their pitching has not been nearly as good as they anticipated. Of course, their ace Roy Oswalt did not have a good year. And finally got shut down with a back problem.
Oswalt's not getting any younger. Lee's only got 50 strikeouts, Ralph, on the season. Gary, on the season.
He's the 3rd toughest to fan in the National League.
That's all. He's got 598 ABs. That is a tough strikeout.
Maine ahead 1-2. Lee fouls off another one, so proving to be tough to fan as usual.
Well, in an era where a lot more players strike out, the young third baseman over in Arizona with over 200 strikeouts.
215, Mark Reynolds.
Unbelievable. Can you imagine?
Still another weekend of games to go.
I wouldn't enjoy myself if I struck out 215 times.
Lee makes contact, and the slow roller handled by Anderson Hernandez. And Maine gets through the opening inning thanks in part to the caught stealing. 2 hits and 1 left. No score.
Pretty good. 190 strikeouts and 199 2/3.
Razor Mets starting lineup brought to you by Toyota, a smart way to keep moving forward. Fernando Tatis has started every game that the Mets have played this year in which they faced a left-handed starting pitcher. 43 games against lefties, 43 starts for Tatis, which leaves Nick Evans in the dugout another day.
And the ace now, the new ace of the staff, left-hander Wandy Rodriguez, born in Santiago Rodriguez, Dominican Republic. Look at the strikeouts, the innings pitched. My word.
Would they name the town after him? Angel Pagan takes a strike. Angel hitting at .298 as he flirts with .300 coming down the stretch of the season. He's been up, he's been down, and needs 2 points to catch up to .300 on the final weekend.
Well, he's going to get every opportunity.
Now, if you're Angel Pagan and you go 3 for 4 tonight and you get over .300, you sit out the last 2 games?
No, you play. I don't think Angel would want to sit. He's a guy that likes to get in there and play every day. I'll say one thing for Angel: he is a hustler. He runs everything out.
Curveball from Rodriguez, down and in, 2-2. Interesting
how Rodriguez struggles on the road and in a ballpark that's not pitcher friendly. He's 9-3. I mean, if you can look at was it Minute Maid still right here?
Yes, still Minute Maid Park.
It's like pitching in Fenway, and they said a left-hander can't win in Fenway. That's a short left field porch. And he's had tremendous success his whole career in that ballpark.
Pagan bounces one foul, but don't you think that when you get a ballpark like Fenway used to be, it's changed now because of the wind patterns there, or Minute Maid Park, that sometimes right-hand hitters get a little over anxious trying to pull the ball to that short porch?
You got to watch out for the lefties. They do a little inside out on you.
Little tapper, tough play for Jeff Blum. He bare hands and puts it in his pocket. An infield hit for Angel Pagan to start the bottom of the first.
And we'll look at the defense, brought to you by ChevysOffers.com. The Astros defense. You can see fewest errors in the National League as a team. And Blum is a guy that's platooned at third base. And that's an all-star lineup right there, that outfield. So this is a club that's kind of a mystery, as Gary said.
Here's Luis Castillo hitting at .309, 9th in the National League. And he takes a strike on the inside. Luis is hitless in 8 career at-bats against Wandy Rodriguez. If he were batting left-handed, it would be automatic he would be bunting here, because that's what he does. Right-handed, a little different kind of hitter.
I think Louis is a little more comfortable bunting, particularly drag bunting from the left side too. And I think he's one of those guys that I know he's one of those guys that is a better drag bunter than a sacrifice bunter.
Rodriguez notoriously tough to run on, and now Castillo trying to bunt for a hit, and he fouls it off. Wandy Rodriguez has gone 174 innings without a stolen base against him. In fact, he's only given up 1 stolen base all year, and that was a steal of third by Brandon Phillips of the Reds back in April. 1-2, and another little tapper, and that one will go foul.
Jeez.
And he's already given up 1 infield hit on a top the ball toward third.
It's interesting, we talked about Wandy being 14 shy of Mike Cuellar's record for left-handers with strikeouts in a season. Mike Cuellar did that in 1967. Wandy needs 14.
Pagan runs, the throw by Quintero, and Pagan is safe. So there it is, only the 2nd stolen base against Wandy Rodriguez this year, and the 1st steal of 2nd. And Pagan has his 14th of the year.
Well, Pagan has brings a lot of things offensively to the lineup.
Let's also remember that for much of the year, when Astro pitchers were on the mound, they had Pudge Rodriguez behind the plate.
Yep.
And that's a little different element than having Humberto Quintero to the right side. So Castillo advances the runner. Matsui throws out Castillo for the first out as Pagan takes third. So a stolen base and advancing ground out. A runner at third with one out for David Wright.
Well, nicely done by Louis there. Had every intent to advance the runner. Getting back to Cuellar. Astros traded Cuellar for Kurt Blefary, Baltimore Orioles, and we all know what happened after Cuellar went to Baltimore. He became one of the finest starting rotations in baseball history with Palmer, Jim Palmer, Pat Dobson, Dave McNally.
Four of them were 20-game winners in 1971.
Yep. And they had like 4 or 5 years together where they were just lights out.
David is 6 for his last 37. The infield playing back, conceding the run on a ground ball. And Rodriguez falls behind 2-0. David has struggled all year getting runners in from third with less than 2 out, just 47%. The league as a whole has gotten worse at getting that runner in from third. A couple of years ago, the major league average was 58 or 59%. This year, under 55%. Two one to right, and he drives this one to the gap in right center field. That'll get the run in. Bounces up over the wall for a ground rule double, scoring Pagan with the first run of the game. David Wright with his 39th double and his 71st run batted in to give the Mets a 1-0 lead.
Well, curveball and Davis stayed back nicely. Hit it right where it was pitched. Let's take a peek from the side. Good balance. Beautiful. Very nice.
David began the day hitting exactly 400 against left-handed pitchers this year. The Mets have never had a hitter with over 100 at-bats against a lefty hit 400 or better. The closest any Met ever came was Steve Henderson, who hit 395 against lefties back in 1979. So with that first at-bat double, David's got a chance to keep that average up over 400. Beltran riding a 6-game hitting streak, and Carlos drives one to left, chasing Lee back a couple of steps. And that's the second out as Wright retreats to second. So 2 away. And now Jeff Francoeur.
Well, he's done a terrific job since coming over to the Mets.
He has fared very well against lefties as well this year, hitting .338. The beginning of the year, the Mets as a team were tearing it up against lefties and winning just about every time they faced a left-handed starter. But the Mets have lost 19 of the last 24 games in which they faced a lefty starter. They're now 15-27 overall in those games this year. Francoeur gets under one to right field, and Pence is settling under it. That retires the side, but the Mets get on the board early. First run of the game brought to you by AMCO AA MCO. David Wright with the RBI double, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead after
Well, there's a Met fan.
Jeff Blum leads off in the second inning, and here in the Ralph Kiner television booth, Ralph Kiner joins us. How are you, Ralph?
Oh, Gary, how are you?
Doing well. Glad to have you back here. You've been watching from afar over the last few weeks, and I know it hasn't been pretty.
Well, the one thing about this year, as opposed to some of the worst years the Mets have had, is the expectation at the beginning of the year that the Mets had a real good ball club. But the injuries they had all season long, off and on, are really the reason why they have not lived up to expectations.
Blum lifts one to left field, and Pagan steadies and grabs it one away.
1962, when they lost 120 games, the fans here in New York wanted to have baseball back, National League Baseball, and they didn't expect a whole lot and were happy to have a team, even though they lost 120 games. And they also had a man named Casey Stengel, who was the main attraction of that ball club.
Was that the worst Met team you ever experienced, Ralph? 62?
Well, I have a little experience in that department. I played with the Pirates, and I lost 112. And that was a record for a long time until the Mets came in 62. But again, getting back to 37, Casey Stengel, he certainly was the man that took over the brunt of all those losses. He had a story for everyone in baseball, and one others can do it.
Hunter Pence down swinging, and John Maine has his second strikeout, 2 away.
Well, not a very good swing right here. This is called. That's like, I can't go in that dugout and hide somewhere.
You know, one thing about that, Keith, is the fact that so many of the ball players today strike out on pitches that aren't even close to the strike zone.
You think that's because they guess more than they used to, Ralph?
I think they guess more than used to, and they stand so far away from the plate that the outside pitch is very tough to hit.
Kaz Matsui rips one to right, but Frank Cora gets over to grab it. And the former Met is retired, and Maine has himself a 1-2-3 inning. Middle of the second at Citi Field, and the Mets leading the Astros 1-0. The Astros continues tomorrow afternoon at 1:10 p.m. Mass transit is the faster, easier, and greener way to Citi Field. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now.
Aha.
More youngsters enjoying their evening at Citi Field.
I don't think this is what Maurice Chevalier had in mind.
Thank God for little girls.
Thank heaven.
Don't forget the little boys. Fernando Tatis leads off in the home second inning. We're talking about strikeouts earlier, and it's mind-boggling, Ralph, to see Mark Reynolds, who's not a bad player, struck out twice more today, and the Arizona third baseman has now struck out 217 times this year.
Well, no question about that, and that's unbelievable. One of the things, Gary, about strikeouts, when I was playing, and all the time in the 40s and 30s and back, you struck out 100 times in a year. I don't care what you hit. You were going back to the minor leagues. And that's a big incentive. If you were going to strike out, you better not do it 100 times. Johnny Moore signed Tom Seaver originally. Was a good hitter in the major leagues. Struck out 100 times. Was sent back to the majors, and he hit 300 that year. So that's a big reason why the strikeouts don't win as much.
Wandy Rodriguez throws out Fernando Tatis for the first out.
I know one year, Gare, I wanted to hit 20 home runs. I think it was 88. And I wound up, if you look at the strikeout leaders in the NL, and do note that the top four in the National League from worst up are just having phenomenal seasons. So in that regard, a lot of things have changed too.
Santos drives one toward the gap in left center, and that rolls to the wall. And Omir Santos pulls in with a one-out double. 14th double of the year for Santos.
Omir, a fastball hitter. Season kind of slowed down on it up at the plate, but that's the ball he just jumped on. First pitch fastball. But when I hit 18, I wound up hitting 18 that year, Garrett, and I struck out 100 times. And I just canned that idea the next year. I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. I didn't want to strike out 100 times.
You know, back in the other days of baseball, players with two strikes, not to strike out, would choke up in the bat to have better control of the bat on the ball. Nowadays, you see no one strike out, no one will hit and choke up. The only player, which I've never understood, that choked up in the bat was Barry Bonds.
Yep.
Barry Bonds is one of the greatest hitters of all time. Nobody copied him. I cannot believe that.
Absolutely. You would think he'd have had some influence on young hitters to choke up.
Yep.
So you have to say there's no penalty for striking out.
Well, nothing productive can happen when you strike out.
Well, one thing about that's what Dick Stewart said. He wanted to be the most valuable player with the Red Sox. And I said, well, you strike out too much. Yeah, and he says, I help the club. And they said, how do you help the club by striking out? He said, that way I don't hit him the double plays.
So I gather Dick wasn't a very swift runner.
He did strike out a lot, too. But he was a good hitter.
Wasn't much of a glove man either.
Dr. Strangeglove.
Oh, yeah. He wore 81 on his license plate. 83, I should say, not one.
Wandy Rodriguez throws out Anderson Hernandez for the second out. And that'll bring up John Maine with 2 out, the runner at second. John has 4 hits and 2 RBIs this year. I mean, do you think that the attitude about strikeouts has changed simply because players are trying to hit more home runs?
I think so.
I do too. I think there's a whole different philosophy in today's game.
Well, you know, average is not really a good way to qualify a player. It's on base percentage and how many base hits you get, how many extra base hits you get, how many home runs you get. Those are the real quality things that you have to do to get big money.
And Maine strikes out on 3 pitches. Wandy Rodriguez has his first strikeout of the night. A double and 1 left. 2 in the books at Citi Field. And the Mets up 1-0. 3. We go to the 3rd inning. Mets with a 1-0 lead. Look at some of the folks out near Blue Smoke and Shake Shack and Box Frites and all that great food out there.
My first Mets game, I bet you that says.
Got a lot of kids here today experiencing the final weekend of the season at Citi Field. Roberto Quintero leads off in the 3rd inning. Quintero getting to play a little bit more now since the trade of Ivan Rodriguez back to Texas. Budge was playing just about every day before he left. Quintero making his 50th start of the year, hitting a .237. You know, you go back to the offseason and Budge Rodriguez was on the market for ages before the Astros finally signed him, and he's not alone. There were a lot of quality players who went begging last winter. Adam Dunn, Bobby Abreu, and all those guys who had to settle for much less than they expected have done pretty well. And you know, it makes you wonder whether players with the incentive of playing on a 1-year deal sometimes might perform better than a guy who signs a 5-year deal.
It's only human nature. Dunn had his best year ever, and he's going to hit less home runs. He had 5 years in a row, or 4 at 40, and they said he had a better year offensively than ever. He got drove in more clutch runs. If you're playing for a contract, sure, that's gonna push you.
Abreu's had a fine year for the Angels, helping them to the AL West title.
Yeah, but he was a very good hitter anyway. The only time he was not a good hitter was when before he got to the Phillies. He was always a 300 batter. And the thing about you know, the main thing is there is an incentive factor when you're in your last year. You want it to be good.
I had 2 5-year deals with the Cardinals, obviously, and the Mets, and I always prided myself on when I was going to fulfill that contract. But the toughest year for me of the 2 5-year deals, Gary, was the 3rd year, because you're right in the middle. And for some reason, however my brain's hardwired and how I think, that was always a tough year for me. And I can always got to the. It's almost like the months of the season. You know, the middle months are the toughest because it's the same kind of philosophy. The dog days in the middle.
So you were the dog days of your contract
yes.
in the 3rd year.
Not bad dog days over the money they paid. You can't really call them dog days.
This will be the 10th pitch of the at bat to Quintero, and he fouls another one off, making John Maine work a little bit harder. But it's interesting because, you know, there was a time when money was flowing in baseball at a rate where if you were a player of some consequence, you could figure to go into the free agent market and get that multi-year contract at a significant number. But I think teams are being a lot more cautious in that range as Maine strikes out Quintero for the first out of the inning. And you know, it remains to be seen what this offseason will hold. But you know, with attendance down in Major League Baseball by about 6%, you figure that maybe that trend is going to continue, that the big stars will get their money, but the guys at the next tier might have to lower their sights a little bit.
Well, it's
a couple of guys will be out of the market this winter.
Yep, for sure.
Well, you know, one of the things about every year you play a game of baseball, that people will always want ball players, and they have to expansion, a need for them. And so I would think that basically the salaries will not come down, not at least until the economy gets a little bit better. And when the mixture of ball players coming into baseball is bigger, you need players coming in. And one thing about baseball, you have 30 teams now opposed to 16, and you need bodies.
And one thing for certain too, and Marvin Miller negotiated this a long time ago, was minimum salary increasing every year on the basis of the cost of living increase. And you know, players today are starting this year, it'll be up next year. Your starting salary, you're negotiating from $400 grand.
Wandy Rodriguez lifts one to center. Carlos Beltran right there waiting for it. 2 out.
Rob, what was your minimum salary and what year was that?
My minimum salary was $6,000.
What year?
My first year of baseball.
What year was that?
1946. And
So-
the thing about that was the fact that it was not a minimum salary until you were there 30 days. You got $5,000 until you were in the major leagues for 30 days. And that's where the ball looked at Keith Hernandez.
And you.
Every day.
When I was hot.
But without the fog.
It didn't matter. When you're hot, you're hot.
Hit with the fog?
Yes. Now, when I was in a slump, yeah, but then that's a different story.
It was all fog.
It looks
and
like
no
a
road.
pea then when you can't hit.
Michael Bourne doubled his first time up, then was caught stealing third, and he takes a strike.
What I find interesting was that Ralph at 6,000 in 19. What year was that, Ralph?
1946.
I broke in 74. And my minimum salary was only 16.5. So really, when you think about it,
Didn't go fast.
it didn't go. It didn't increase over that 30-year period.
Things started accelerating once free agency came in, and all boats were lifted by free agency and arbitration. You know, Charlie Finley, the old owner of the A's, he felt as though the best way to keep down salaries was to make every player a free agent every year.
Right.
You know, he would have been right.
And that's what Marvin Miller wanted.
Yeah, that's true.
David Wright catches the foul pop-up by Bourne. A 1-2-3 inning for Maine. 1-0 New York. .com. Angel Pagan leads off the home third and fouls one off. Pagan had an infield hit, stole a base, scored the only run of this game in the first inning. Has that batting average right to 300.
Uh-oh.
He is on the cusp.
So this time of year, a base hit is worth 2 points.
Well, the great story, I think, and everybody knows this, certainly Ralph, was Ted Williams that last game he played, Ralph, right?
The doubleheader against the Philadelphia Athletics, and he had 400 clinched because it was a 399.6 batting average, and would be carried over to 400. And they said, "Ted, you want to sit this game out?" And he played the doubleheader, the doubleheader. Won 6 hits and 8 at bats and hit 406.
1941, the last man ever to hit 400.
Think anybody ever hit 400 again, Ralph?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
Because of the gloves and the field. Fields are so manicured that you don't have the bad hop errors you had in the past. And the gloves are so much better.
John hooks one foul. Nice catch.
Look at that. See how those gloves work? Don't need one.
He took it right away from Travis the ball boy, who has a glove. Travis.
Oh, there's a lot of cuties in the stands tonight. How about that? What? Jeez. Fantastic. I love it.
It's first Met game night for a lot of these youngsters.
This is a great ballpark, and you want to see it.
Little kids together with cotton candy.
Oh boy,
you get
the Energizer Bunny.
Late nights. 0-2 to Pagan on the curveball down. 1-2. To left, and Lee is there. Pagan retired, 1 out. Wandy Rodriguez trying for his 15th win of the year. He's gone over the 200 inning plateau tonight. First time in his career he's done that. Wandy's now 30 years old. When he began in the Astros organization, he was known as Indy Cabreja. He had used somebody else's birth certificate in order to be 3 years younger. They found him out. He gained a different name, his own, and 3 years.
And
he's now 30.
The reason for that was when you were younger and you were a great-looking player with a great potential, you get more money to sign, and that's why they did that.
A lot of players, particularly from the Dominican Republic, who had used fake credentials and tried to pretend to be younger than they were, got found out after 9/11 when they tightened the visa restrictions and did a little more investigating into players' backgrounds.
And when I played, you tried to get your age younger for another reason. So you got to be 33 or 34. They said you're too old to play in the major leagues, and so you better not get 33 or 34. So you cut your age back. And that changed when they went to the pension plan. And they found out the true age of all the ball players in the major leagues.
Well, we went through an era where a lot of players were playing past 40. Yes, it could be that, you know, the new 35 is going to be like the old 35, which was 40 for a few years.
Well, there's no question in my mind, and I'm sure Keith would agree with me for a change. The reason for that is that players are in better condition and better shape than they were in my day.
But still, baseball is such a grind, and that your body gets worn down not only over a single season, but if you're you're a 15-year veteran. That's 15 seasons of playing every day, the wear and tear.
Jeff Blum handles the grounder and throws out Castillo 2 away.
You know, it's got to catch up to you sooner or later. And obviously, the more fit you are, the longer you're going to last. Well, but that's no guarantee either.
And there's no question that in the era of performance-enhancing drugs, guys were able to extend their careers for 4 years.
No question.
And now that baseball is hopefully getting away from the use of performance-enhancing drugs, although they still have no test for HGH, at least they have instituted stringent steroid testing, and you know that's going to bring down the age that players are going to be able to perform to.
Well, their players are going to be, if anything, they're going to be afraid of losing their salary. I mean, I think the penalties are pretty stiff, and but 50 the first time, and you know you're hurting your team. That's a considerable part of the season. Second offenders, how long, Gary? Is it 100?
Second is 100. Third is lifetime.
Adios, amigo.
Well, David Wright has had one of the most peculiar years of a real good ball player. He has had a year that you would say on paper looks fair, not good.
Lines this one to the left, and David's 2 for 2 on the night.
But his average was about to go under 300. And his home run production has been as low as you can imagine. David Wright with only 10 home runs all season long. And of course, his RBI production has gone down because it does not hit the average of about 30 home runs.
Well, the home runs for David the last 5 years: 27, 26, 30, 33, and now 10.
That is a tremendous drop off. Well, the bad angle on a low pitch. There you are, Keith. That's a level. That's a level swing.
No, yes, it is.
According to Keith.
No, I mean from the belt up, Ralph. That's a golf swing, Ralph.
Oh, well, you got to be in an upswing position to hit the ball when it's low.
Yep. Beltran flies out to Carlos Lee to end the inning. A hit and one left. 3 in the books. 1-0 New York. HD, see what you're missing. Call 1-888-GET-FIOS. Miguel Tejada leads off in the 4th inning. John Maines retired 8 in a row since Tejada's single in the 1st. Tejada now with a 19-game hitting streak, and now just 3 hits shy of 200. And if he gets there, it'll be the 4th time in his career he's reached 200 hits. It had been a very troubling year for Tejada, what with his having to admit to having lied to Congress about performance-enhancing drugs. But to his credit, he has come back this year and had himself a terrific season, playing every day, as he always has.
He has been really an outstanding batter as a infielder over his career.
Ralph, who was the best offensive shortstop in your day?
Well, I would say Archie Vaughn, who hit 388, I think it was. I believe it was 88, maybe it was a little less. But he was as good a hitter as you want to see as a left-hand batter at short. I would say he was that. Vern Stevens in the American League was one of the best. He had 45 home runs with the Boston Red Sox. Just offhand, that would be it.
People forget about Vern Stevens as Hernandez throws out Tejada, because we always think of Ernie Banks as being the first big home run hitting shortstop, but Stevens was ahead of him.
Of course, you go way back, and then probably the best shortstop they ever played was Honus Wagner for the Pirates. He played other positions as well, but he was an outstanding hitter and a great shortstop. And he played near Ty Cobb, and many consider him a better player than Ty Cobb.
Here's Lance Berkman, who struck out his first time up.
Well, the tendency in baseball is to forget about the past and think of the present. And of course, shortstop has become a very productive position nowadays in baseball. It used to be you had to be a great fielder and don't worry about the hitting.
Have you seen the body types of shortstops change considerably since you played?
Oh, yes, tremendously. They're all bigger and stronger.
No, the middle infielders were, particularly second basemen, were tiny.
I mean, who was the first big shortstop? I know that
Marty Marion was pretty tall, yes.
He was slender.
Very slender, but he was about 6'4" as a shortstop.
Berkman swinging 3-0, and he rips a base hit to right. So after Maine had retired 9 in a row, Berkman has a 1-out single in the 4th.
Of course, you have players that today are much bigger and stronger because of the programs of exercise and what have you.
And I just think generationally, the human race is getting bigger and stronger.
Yeah, it's very normal all the way around.
I mean, Wilt Chamberlain was just a, you know,
he was a freak.
Feet on, yeah.
And then now they're how many? You know, there's 7-footers all over the place.
6'9" point guards.
Yes, exactly.
Didn't conceive of that when Bob Cousy was going behind us.
Absolutely.
Carlos Lee hit into a fielder's choice his first time. Grounds one. Wright can't make the diving stop. It trickles down the line. Berkman on his way to third as Pagan fields it. Into second base with a double goes Carlos Lee. And the Astros have second and third and 1 out. 35th double of the year for Lee.
Well, just out of the reach of David, out in front. Was it a changeup or a backdoor or a slider? Just, oh, he got a glove on it too.
A piece of the glove, not much of it.
And Berkman's going to go to third easily. Berkman kind of runs like me with those flipper hands. And Carlos Lee's a big guy.
So now Jeff Blum will try and get the run in with the infield playing back.
Blum's got some pop. 10 home runs on the year.
And he grounds one down to first. Tatis will settle for the out at first as a run comes in to tie the game. Berkman scores on the ground out by Blum, his 49th run batted in, and it's a 1-1 game.
Well, nicely done by Berkman. They're playing back. Got a good jump on the ground ball.
Tatis has played a very good utility infield. Third base and first base. His real position, third base.
So 117 makes the play. Another one scores. It's a 1-1 game. Here's Hunter Pence, and he takes a strike.
Hunter Pence loves to wear those pants up high and show those socks.
Made him look bad his first time up.
He is. Look at that. He is long-legged.
I'll tell you one thing about him. Where he stands in the batter's box or that open stance, he invites you to pitch curveballs outside and low.
There's a guy choking up on the bat.
They all have that front foot down first.
Slowly hit. Wright has to charge. Makes the bare hand play and throws him out. Not an easy play for David Wright. That keeps the run from scoring and keeps it tied. Astros get a run. And Wright makes sure they don't get more. Nice barehanded play in a 1-1 game.
Wright, though, ended the last inning with a heck of a nice play with the bare hand and throwing to first base. And I talked to Wright today, guys, and I asked him, what's been tougher, the last couple of years going down the stretch and then losing control the last day, or this year? And David said, without question, it's been this year, because to come down the stretch and to play so many meaningful games, just to play and play out the string, it's been very hard to deal with. It's just hard not having that hunger, that race. Playing games that mean nothing has been difficult. And then I asked him his thoughts. What is the #1 thing this team needs next year? And he said, look, obviously health. We've got to get our horses healthy. As Francoeur punches one in the left center, he's got himself a base hit. Leadoff single for the Mets here. And he said this. He said, look, other than having the guys healthy, there are some guys that can be had out there. There are some guys that can help this team. And it's important that we have some of these changes, that we come in here next year with a newer look and an attitude to win the division. And guys, David Wright is very careful with his words. So although that's a subtle little thing, to me, that's enough. Is Wright just saying, yeah, I think there's some changes that need to be made. Back to you.
And the question, of course, is where do those changes get made? What positions? Who are you going to get? How are you going to get them? Free agency, trades. Down the right field line foul off the bat of Tatis. It was interesting to hear Jerry Manuel address what the team's top priority should be next year. He said pitching. And I agree with him. I agree. What do you think, Ralph?
Unanimous. There's no question about it. They haven't got but one pitcher over 500.
When you look at the Mets starting pitching this year after Johan Santana, and Tim Redding's given them 6 nice weeks at the end of the season, but otherwise there's been very little for them to hang their hat on. Tatis takes the curveball for a strike.
We can never have enough pitching.
Well, the Mets came into this season with Mike Pelfrey, John Maine, and Oliver Perez in no particular order as their 2, 3, and 4 starters. Maine spent half the year on the disabled list. Perez struggled big time and has been out the second half of the year. And Pelfrey has had a year that can be most charitably described as a growing experience. So where does that leave them for next year if they don't import some more starting pitching? Do they go back to the well next year with the same 2, 3, and 4 starting pitchers and hope for better?
Hope is not a word. Can't do that.
Tatis rips a base hit into center field. So back-to-back base hits for Francoeur and Tatis to start the home 4th inning.
One thing about baseball is that records show a lot. And if you have a winning record, you know how to win. And you don't have to hope about that.
Well, that's what the Mets have gotten out of those 2, 3, and 4 starting pitchers this year. I mean, as management, as a baseball operation, do you say this is what those pitchers are and we can't expect more, as Santos flips one to left field and Lee is there? Or do you say to yourself, well, Perez won 15 games a couple of years ago, and Maine won 15 games a couple of years ago, and Pelfrey, the middle of last season, was 11-2 in one stretch. In other words, do you look at what you've got when they were at their best, or do you look at what you've got at their most recent?
And how do you project that? That's the hard part, and that's what they have general managers for, and that's what managers are for. They have to do that, and they have to make that decision.
I guess the question is, what is the alchemy there? How do you project when you're taking a player who's coming off a bad year or an injured year? Do you say he's going to be what he was? He's not going to be what he was. He's going to get better. He's going to get worse. Are those guesses, or is there some actual way of determining that?
There's no actual way.
You've got to hope that an athlete that's had a bad year, that's had success, and not just one year of success, has had a couple, 2, 3, 4 good years. He has a bad year that he bounces. He will have a bounce back year. He will come back. particularly if you had an injury-prone season.
Kaz Matsui with the beautiful turn in the middle of a 5-4-3 double play. That ends the Mets' 4th inning. Acrobatic turn by Matsui. 1-1 ball game. Rippled in the breeze above Citi Field. Blowing out of the, I don't know, which way is it coming? Looks like it's blowing one way on that shot and a different way at the top of the stadium.
Ralph, does that remind you of old Ebbets Field?
It really does. It's a pattern of the rotunda they had at Ebbets Field, and it was done on purpose. There's no doubt about that. And of course, and my way of thinking, playing in Ebbets Field was one of the great thrills of my life. I enjoyed playing against Brooklyn there.
Kaz Matsui hit the ball hard, lined out to Frank Corey in right his first time up, and he drops down a beautiful bunt. Maine off the mound has no play, and Matsui with a bunt single. Kaz Matsui, ever since the Mets sent him packing, has always played extraordinarily well against his old team.
Well, beautiful drag. Bud Harrelson will be happy with that one.
Kaz in his second year with the Astros after playing so well for the Rockies during their run in 07.
That's of course what the Mets had an unusual start of the season for the Mets several times. He was leadoff home run. Did it way to start a season.
Did it twice.
His first at bat in the major leagues, leading off the season for the Mets in Atlanta, hit the first pitch for a home run off Russ Ortiz. And then the next year, homered in his first at bat, and the year after that, homered in his first at bat of the season.
Well, here's the bunt again. Keep an eye on the bat, folks. There he deadens it right there.
Now that's level.
That's level.
But that's a bunt. We're talking about home runs.
Had it out in front of the plate.
You want the ball on the ground when you bunt the ball. You don't want it in the air.
Maine deflects it to Castillo, who gets the out at first, and he let it alone. It probably would have been a double play, but Maine reaching behind him, deflecting it over to Castillo.
Well, he tried the old backhand stab, and Quintero cannot run well. They're fortunate to get him 4-3 on your scorecard.
So Matsui to second with one out. The pitcher Wandy Rodriguez will bat. Meanwhile, in Detroit, Carlos Quentin has just homered for the White Sox off Edwin Jackson. It's now the White Sox 3, the Tigers nothing in the top of the 5th. Jake Peavy working for the White Sox. And of course, that is a huge game. Kansas City and Minnesota go to the bottom of the first at the Metrodome with no score. That's Francisco Liriano pitching for Minnesota against Lenny DiNardo. Rodriguez drops down a bunt. I don't understand that play at all.
Why would you do that?
I've never seen that before.
You've already got the runner in scoring position. Your pitcher might swing and get a blooper.
I think he was trying to get a base hit. That's the only reason why he wasn't trying to keep him into a double-A play. There's no way that was set up.
I think Lance Berkman was just explaining to Dave Clark, who's a neophyte as a manager, that that's not a good play.
I don't know whether. No, I wouldn't buy that. He's been around too long to know that's not a good play.
So 2 out and a runner at third, and now Michael Bourne, the batter. It will be a sacrifice credited to Wandy Rodriguez. And Bourne, who has a very high batting average with runners in scoring position, but not a whole lot of RBIs hitting leadoff. He's hitting .360 with runners in scoring position. That's 4th in the league, but he has just 35 runs batted in. And he takes inside from Maine. 2-1.
With Bourne's speed, he could beat out bunt if he goes to the right side of the field. And feels back.
Tatis playing back at first base. There's strike 2 and 2. And Bourne has 42 infield hits this year. That's the most in the National League.
Well, maybe that's Mr. Clark had in mind.
Tough now with 2 strikes. And now a full count to Bourne. The Astros now have 5 hits. The Mets have 6 as we play in the 5th inning in a 1-1 game. Maine's 4th start since coming off the disabled list. And Bourne goes down swinging to end the inning. 4 strikeouts for John Maine. We're halfway through at Citi Field in the final night game of the season. Mets and Astros tied at 1. Provocateur. John Maine leads off in the home 5th inning. John struck out his first time up, and Wandy Rodriguez misses high with a curveball, 1-1. It'll be Maine, then Angel Pagan and Luis Castillo for the Mets in the home 5th. Mets got a run in the first. Astros tied it in the 4th. And the curveball strikes out Maine. Second strikeout for Wandy Rodriguez, giving him 192 for the year. One out and nobody on. Angel Pagan coming up. Let's check in with Kevin.
And he's getting ready for the offseason, guys. You know, he called it the most important offseason of his career. And I asked him what his plans are. He said, well, my first plan, honestly, I'll take probably about 2 weeks and just enjoy my family. You know, be a father, be a husband, and just be with them. And I'll take a break from the gym and just take a break from baseball, let my body recover. After that, it's to work. It's the routine. It's working out. And what he plans to do, even though he hasn't gotten the formal invitation this year, is what he did part of last offseason. That is work out with fellow countryman Carlos Beltran over at Carlos's house. I asked him about the experience. He said it was eye-opening just to see how hard Carlos Beltran works. You know, he just taught. I guess Angel said, you know, you just kind of assume these guys automatically have it. And I was just amazed at the amount of work he put in, and it taught me a good lesson too about working. And I asked him what they did. It's about a 5-hour total workout, which does include some time for a couple of snacks in there. But basically, weights, hitting, and then a lot of pool exercises where they work on agility and different things like that. A lot of stretching, things like that. As far as the hitting goes, you ready for this? 800 swings a day is what Pagan told me they took. And I actually confirmed that number with Beltran, too. 800 a day. I said, how do you even do that 800 times? And he said, well, I really think it was beneficial because it's not for stamina. We really set it up. So Carlos would call out a situation, and then we pitch the ball, and we'd have to hit to the situation. It was really focused stuff. It wasn't just swing the bat 800 times. So a pretty intense workout. Pagan hopes to do that and just wants to come spring training healthy for the first time in a while. But he will take that break, Keith. I know you think that's important. Let's go back up to you, Keith. Keith and Ralph, what do you think about that? 800 swings in a day. What do you think, Ralph?
I think it's great. I think the way you develop your muscles are the ones that you use when you bat. And the more you swing, the stronger your arms and the wrists and the hands get.
Strike 3 called, and Pagan is down. Back-to-back strikeouts.
Pagan, when the Mets were tested for agility and all kinds of things like standing, jumping, all that sort of thing, which is really not part of baseball. He was the #1 guy in the organization doing all that. He was #1 in almost every one of those exercises.
You know what, guys, to give you an idea, too, I asked Pagan what he did in years leading up to that a day. He said, I would take probably about 100 swings. That's why it was such an eye-opening experience, and probably why I felt so prepared coming into the season for the first time in my career. Big difference.
What's the big key for Angel is just being healthy. He's already spent 2 long stints on the disabled list this year, although he's been able to stay healthy the second half of the season after missing the major portion of last year because of injury.
You know what I did when I was in my last part of my career? I was with Cleveland. I had the batting pitching thing, pitching machine down at in a vacant lot in my hometown. I hit every day for a month before I went to spring training. And I would swing, I guess, so I have no idea. I don't think it was 800, but at least 600 times.
Hunter pitched with a leaping grab to take an extra base hit away from Castillo and end the inning. So the Mets are down 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 5th. Nice retreating play by Pence. After 5, it's a 1-1 game. smarter than a fifth. Smarter than a fifth grader every weeknight at 5 right here on Picks. Some of the crowd here at Citi Field on a cool but comfortable Friday night. Last home night game, last night game of the season for the Mets. Day games tomorrow and Sunday. And then the Mets' next game after that will be March the 2nd. At Tradition Field in Port St. Lucie against the Atlanta Braves.
It'll be on SNY, I bet.
Of course it will. You know, there are fewer and fewer teams in the area around where the Mets train in Port St. Lucie. So many teams have moved their spring training facilities to Arizona or to the west coast of Florida. So the Mets are going to have to travel more afield next spring to get some spring training games in.
Well, they've got the Braves in Orlando. They have the two teams in Jupiter, Cardinals and the Marlins.
And they've got the Astros in Kissimmee, which isn't all that close.
Dodgers are gone.
Yep. So they're going to make a couple of trips across to Fort Myers to play the Twins and the Red Sox over there. And then at the end of the spring, go to St. Petersburg and to Sarasota.
Well, St. Pete will be better. Sarasota, yuck.
Guilty. How to take going away 2-2. Now Jason Kubel with an RBI single, and now the Twins have poured it on in the bottom of the first inning.
Close to 1.
Delman Young with the grand slam, and it's 5-0 Twins.
I'll tell you what, Gardner has really done an unbelievable job as manager. Former New York Mets infielder and outstanding guy, and he's done just wonders with a small payroll. It's not so small anymore, but they got some players.
Anderson Hernandez gets in front of it and throws out Tejada as the tag is made by Tatis for the first out. Well, did you see what happened with the Twins yesterday? They won a very big game by beating the Tigers to keep their season alive. But in the process, they had a little beanball skirmish with the Tigers, which was started by the Twins relief pitcher Juan Maharis, and Delman Young ended up getting hit by Jeremy Bonderman of the Tigers, and Young, after he got hit, pointed into his own dugout to blame his pitcher for having started the whole thing. And in fact, all of the Twins were very angry at Maharis for starting something that never should have begun. The reason why Maharis threw behind Adam Everett is because in a lopsided game, the Tigers had taken a couple of uncontested bases.
That's the strange part of the whole thing. I mean, they set it up, but they're not going to hold the runner on first base. Go ahead and run. It's not my. And he just was cool. There's no question about that. And Gardner went over to apologize to the manager of the Tigers, Jim Leland. And he did apologize.
And so Delman Young, the guy who was angry at his own teammate, comes back in the first inning today and hits a grand slam. So obviously, for whatever hard feelings they were all, I guess they were all kind of pointed in the right direction.
I never heard of a guy being unhappy about someone when they stole second base and the team didn't defend against them. That's one of the new ones.
In any event, the Twins are still very much alive, despite only managing to split that 4-game series against the Tigers. If they win and the Tigers lose, and that's the way it's set up right now, it would be a 1-game lead for the Tigers going into the final 2 games. Berkman fouls it off. The problem for the Twins tomorrow, of course, is that they have to face Zach Greinke in Kansas City, or at the Metrodome.
So they have to beat him.
And Greinke beat them last weekend.
Well, he's a pretty good pitcher, good curveball. And he's one of the candidates for the Cy Young Award.
Swing and a miss, and Berkman is down for the second time. That's 5 strikeouts now for John Maine, who's had himself a fine night.
Very nice. A little slider breaking down. John, of all the injuries, the guys that have come back, has been the bright spot. I'm impressed with how he's throwing.
And he's pitching longer now this time than he has since coming back. He has a good fastball. There's no question about that.
It's not the 94-mile-an-hour fastball we saw before, but he's still got pretty good life right now.
Yes, he is. Yes.
And he's always been life upstairs and up in the strike zone.
And one thing about him, he doesn't walk batters. That's one of the things the Mets have got to correct in the coming year. They lead the National League in walks issue.
Lee pokes one foul. Tatis can't quite get there. Did you see either one of you the proposal in the New York Times that the way the Mets could solve the problems in terms of power here was to move home plate out further toward the fence?
Well, the thing about that is it sounds like a great idea, but the Mets don't hit home runs on the road anyway. They don't. That's the whole thing. It's not the fact they're at home or anything else with this ballpark. They don't hit. They got the same amount of home runs on the road as they have at home, and it's the worst in the league.
Well, I think they should give it another year, and you know, if you moved home plate up, you would down the right field line, you would lose that. You would get more foul territory down the lines.
Well, you get more foul territory in back of the home plate area, and that would help the pitchers more than the hitters. The distance won't be that different.
Lee takes a call, third strike. Maine has his sixth strikeout. Middle of the sixth in Citi Field with the Mets and Astros all tied up. David Wright is 2 for 2 tonight. He leads off in the home sixth inning. David doubled to right center to drive in the Mets' only run of the game, and then he singled to left in the third. That one caught the catcher Humberto Quintero. Here's some numbers for David. The 4 years preceding this one compared to this year. Batting average about the same. Home runs down, RBIs down, strikeouts up.
Well, the strikeouts are alarming, Ralph. 140.
That is really the one thing I think that really stands out, that he's got to do something about the strikeouts. Now, he's always hit left-hand pitching well, and he's done it again this year. That means he doesn't hit right-hand pitching that well. And when you're the big bopper in your lineup, you got to hit both ways.
Well, David's average this year against right-handers is .279, but only 6 home runs and 419 at-bats against right-handed pitching.
And his total home runs this year, 10.
Wandy Rodriguez up to 86 pitches in the 6th inning. He has not walked a batter. He struck out 3. 3-2 to David. And he fouls back the high fastball.
Well, there are your splits right there.
David right in the last pitch went up a high fastball. Another base hit for David now against the left-hand pitcher.
Got it off the curveball on 3-2, and David's 3 for 3 on the night. So that pretty much seals him hitting .400 against lefties this year. He'll be the first Met ever to do that.
Looks like that there was nothing Wandy threw up there today that's fooling David. He's on everything.
Well, the White Sox are pouring it on in Detroit. Mark Kotsay with a 2-run double in the 6th, and Chicago now leads Detroit 6-0. And Jake Peavy's only allowed 1 hit in that game. So you got the Tigers down 6-0 in the 6th. Minnesota up 5-0 in the 2nd. So it looks like things could definitely tighten up tonight in the AL Central. The last playoff berth to be decided. Beltran fouls one off, and it's 0-2. I mentioned that tomorrow the Twins will have to face Zach Greinke. Those are his numbers. It's he and Felix Hernandez and maybe CC Sabathia battle for the American League Cy Young.
What an impressive earned run average in today's game. That's hard. It's hard to find. Look at the walks.
Beltran to center field, and it stays up for Bourne for the first out. So Carlos hit it hard, but he's now 0 for 3.
Well, Ralph said it about Greinke. He's got a great curveball. And most pitchers, unless they're Bob Fellers, well, Bob Feller had a great curveball too. Very few pitchers can throw a fastball and have those kind of numbers. They got to have a good breaking ball to go with it.
Not good in his heyday.
Good. Seaver had a great breaking ball. No one ever talked about Seaver's breaking ball. Seaver's was the power curve off the table.
Runner goes, and the ball bobbled by Quintero, and Wright has a stolen base.
And Wright had that base stolen before the ball was dropped. He got a big jump on this one.
Well, he probably just took a chance. Yep.
And that's his 2nd stolen base. That's double what he's given up before coming here this year. And Mets have 2 in this ballgame.
Angel Pagan stole 2nd in the 1st inning. Now Wright and Francoeur fouls it back. In fact, the only stolen base against Wandy Rodriguez all season had been a steal of 3rd by Brandon Phillips back in April. He had not given up a steal of 2nd all year, and now he's given up 2 tonight. Mets, of course, lead the National League in stolen bases with 120. 1-1 to Francoeur, and the curveball ripped to left. Back goes Lee, back near the wall, and it's out of here. A 2-run homer for Jeff Francoeur, and the Mets take the lead 3-1. Number 15 for Francoeur, his 10th as a Met. And it's 3-1 New York.
Well, he has just been fantastic. And that is a line shot on that curve. Nice catch. Oh, he dropped it. And Wandy knows he hung one.
21st home run allowed by Wandy Rodriguez this year. So Francoeur in double digits as a Met. He's only spent half a season with them, and yet he's just one off the club lead in home runs.
Well, this is his 74th game, Gare, and that is his 41st run batted in. That's outstanding.
And he has really done a good job and is one of the bright spots for next year. If he can get back to his beginning years with the Atlanta Braves, he's going to be a real asset. So that's one of the good things that has happened. Or maybe the first one, the only thing this year.
That's what Jerry Manuel said before the game today. He said one of the best things that has happened to us this year, referring to Frank Gore, in an otherwise dismal season for this franchise.
He started out with the Atlanta Braves with good years, and then went into a big slump with his inability to pick the strike zone out. He has the tools to be an outstanding hitter, and on top of that, he's a great guy.
He has an infectious personality, and he's always smiling, and I think that's a positive thing for this ball club.
There you see his numbers as a Met, and you would take those over a full season at that rate. Then throw in the ability on defense.
You were asking Gary about how do you predict what a player might do in the future, and he would predict well because he has power, he has a great arm, he has tools, and he's got to find out how to put them in on a consistent basis.
Of course, the problem is you never would have predicted that he would have struggled as badly as he did for a year and a half in Atlanta after the way he started.
That's very true.
Well, he's a low ball hitter. He tends to chase that high fastball, and he needs to learn just to bring the sights down, look into your strength. He should look down in the strike zone and try to lay off that high fastball.
The word didn't try. You got to lay off the high fastball. There's no doubt about it. And that's a pitch that gives a good hitter a chance to do his best thing when you don't swing at the high fastballs.
Two-0 to Santos. And he takes the curveball low and in.
One of the things that I learned from Hank Greenberg when he joined the club my second year was don't swing at high fastballs. They look so inviting and look so easy, and you always want to, but you can't do that. You know what I do with Frank Gore? I did him stand up on the pitches, warming up every day and warm up for the game, and look at the pitches that are thrown and call them balls or strikes. Just look, and so you know what balls and strikes are where they're going to be. I did that all the time, and it really helped me.
Two-out walk to Omir Santos. Anderson Hernandez coming up. First walk given up by Wandy Rodriguez is now at 104 pitches for the night.
Frank Gore is always John in there. I just like it. He's engaged.
Well, he had lost that smile and a little bit of that swagger in Atlanta. The burden of playing in his hometown and struggling in his hometown certainly wore at him. But he has been a delightful addition to this team from the day he walked in the clubhouse.
Well, you know, look at, he got everybody laughing. I mean, Sheffield has been kind of a loner in that bench since he's been here, and here he is sitting right next to Sheffield, engaging Sheffield. I just think he's got a very, very infectious, positive attitude and personality.
Absolutely, he's really an asset if he can hit.
Jeremy Reed getting a little taste of that as well. Two and two now to Hernandez.
And this final weekend right here, folks, is when you're playing it out. It's a relaxing final weekend. You know, even the guys on the bench, the games aren't important. You're one weekend from being in the car and heading home. It's much more relaxed.
Just into the right side. Matsui ranging wide. Berkman gets back to the bag, and the side retired. But the Mets grab the lead on the Jeff Francoeur home run. Ralph, it was great having you with us, and this is your swan song in 2009.
This is it, the last game of the year for me.
Well, we'll see you next spring at Port St. His 2-run homers give John Maine a 3-1 lead. Meanwhile, Maine has shown tonight 92 pitches over 6 innings. He struck out 6. He's allowed just a run on 5 hits. He'll face 5, 6, and 7 in the Houston batting order. Jeff Blum leads off in the 7th and takes a strike.
That'd be nice if John gets 7. How about that?
Well, if he does, it'll be his longest outing of the year. He hasn't gone more than 6 2/3 in a game all year. Of course, earlier in the season and throughout his career, what has plagued John has been that high pitch count early in the game that has prevented him from going deep into games, but he's controlled that here today.
Well, a lot of the pitchers that we talked about, the big three, Pelfrey, Perez, and Maine, they always give you 4 good ones, and then either the 5th or the 6th, they run into trouble. So this is a very, very promising sign from John Maine.
Blum drove in the only Houston run with a ground out in the 4th inning. And a swing and a miss. And Maine has his 7th strikeout of the night. That matches his season high.
Very nice breaking ball John's throwing against the left-handers. Backdoor breaking ball in the outside corner. This is a reset here. It's a beautiful shot of the stadium.
I think it's just our esteemed director, Dan Reagan, showing us what it looks like here at Citi Field. Kind of a panoramic look.
Oh, let's reset it. 3-1 ball game here. Beautiful night. 7th inning. John Maine, 7 strikeouts. Brilliant performance. Oh, there he is.
Well, it is Oktoberfest.
That's right.
Here at Citi Field tonight, we had the Oktoberfest band out earlier, and in that spirit, he's not wearing lederhosen, is he?
Is that a fuller brush on that hat, is, or what?
2-1 to Hunter Pence. Maine about to throw his 100th pitch of the night, and Pence fouls it back. Pence is 0 for 2. Struck out in the 2nd, and then David Wright made a nice barehand play and threw him out. That saved a run in the 4th inning. And Pence just taps one foul. He's had some rather ugly swings against John Maine tonight.
Well, he's an awkward swinger. And, he's our version of Daniel Murphy. He's like kind of a Roger Ramjet type player. He runs it, he just.
I love when you call him Roger Ramjet.
It's a compliment.
Popped up. Castillo retreating. Frank Corer will call him off, and there are 2 out. 6 2/3 for Maine now matches his longest outing of the year. Who's Hot? Brought to you by Men's Warehouse. Chris Carpenter now 17 and 4, 2.24. Not only that, but he drove in 6 runs yesterday, and for the Cardinals in their 13-0 win over the Reds. Jason Marquis always seems to be in the postseason, and he makes it again this year with Colorado. And Zach Greinke going into his final start tomorrow, 1.24 ERA against teams with winning records.
You know everything.
No, I was just reading it off the screen. Actually, Greinke's manager Trey Hillman has made the case for him as the Cy Young, because some have said, well, he doesn't pitch in the American League East, so he doesn't face the better teams as often. And that's what Hillman pointed to. He said, look what he's done when he's had the chance against the better teams.
Yes.
He's done his best pitching.
I think it's important to note, too, in that Cardinal game tonight, as the Cardinals are ahead 2-0 in the 3rd, and Adam Wainwright's going for his 20th.
Well, I think in the National League it's going to come down to the 2 Cardinals, Wainwright and Carpenter. Matsui thrown out by Hernandez. Another good inning for John Maine. He has set down 9 in a row through 7 for the first time this year. Hyundai Assurance can even lower your price at the pump. Go to Hyundai.com to find out how. Well, this is our final Pix 11 telecast of the season, and we want to give a hearty thanks for all of his help and support to the longtime coordinating producer of Mets baseball on Pix 11, Steve Olbaum. Steve, thanks for all that you do, and look forward to continuing partnership with Pix 11. Tim Burdock takes over the pitching for the Astros as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Nick Evans will bat for John Maine, and Evans fouls back the first pitch. Well, a stellar outing for John Maine tonight, his longest of the season. He winds up going 7 innings, allows a run on 5 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. He'll finish the season with a 4.43 earned run average for his 15 starts.
And a winning record.
Well, if the Mets win tonight, he'll have a winning record, and he'll also have something else that has not been accomplished by any Met pitcher in 19 years. If he gets a win tonight, he will have won 6 straight home starts. The last Met pitcher to do that was Sid Fernandez back in 1990.
Really?
Evans to center field and deep. Back goes Bourne, racing back. Can't get to it. Evans to second. He's going to take the turn and head for third. Nick Evans in with a stand-up triple. The Mets' 47th triple of the year, tying a club record.
Well, in this ballpark here, if you play shallow, you take a chance. You can get burned deep. And just out of the reach of Bourne, it would fly. High fastball. Good way to go, Nick. You haven't had much playing time. Turn it on. Nicely done.
And for Nick Evans, his first major league triple. So he's at third base with nobody out.
Infield in.
Angel Pagan up, looking to add to a 3-1 lead, and he takes a strike from Burdock. Bobby Parnell getting ready in the Mets bullpen.
And by the way, I thought Parnell threw the best in a long while back in that last outing in Washington. Really was sharp in 2 innings, 2 strong innings.
Pagan lays off. 1-1. Angel 1 for 3, had an infield hit, stole a base, and scored the first Met run back in the first inning. Since then, he's lined to left and struck out. Mets now with 9 hits in the game. Burdock ahead on Pagan, 1-2 with Luis Castillo on deck. Angel is hitting .333 with runners in scoring position this year. Looking to make contact here and get that run home from third.
Outfield defense shallow. Pence, particularly Bourne. Bourne loves to play shallow.
Burned him on the last play. 2-2 now to Pagan. Wandy Rodriguez went 6 innings through 109 pitches. He allowed 3 runs and 8 hits, a walk, 3 strikeouts, a home run. So Wandy Rodriguez will finish the season with his most innings ever, 205 2/3, and 193 strikeouts. And Pagan stays in the at bat. So Rodriguez will have the second best strikeout total ever for a Houston left-hander. Just 10 fewer than Mike Cuellar had back in 1967. I think the Astros have been known for strong pitching over the years, but mostly strong right-handed pitching. Don Wilson to J.R. Richard and Nolan Ryan. 2-2 in there for a call, strike 3. So Pagan down looking for the first out of the inning. Mike Scott, the list goes on and on. I can't think of a lot of Astros lefties over the years. Here's your Lexus National League scoreboard this afternoon. 2 more strikeouts for Mark Reynolds. That gets him to 217 for the year, and the Diamondbacks win. All the playoff berths have been locked up, except for the positioning in the West, where the Dodgers and the Rockies go head-to-head tonight. The Rockies need a sweep to win the West. All the Dodgers have to do is win 1 to clinch the division. But both teams will be in the postseason.
Well, the White Sox are up 8-0 now in the 7th over Detroit.
And the Twins are up 7-0 over Kansas City in the 3rd. So
that's going to get very interesting on come Saturday.
It looks like, unless there's a big comeback in either one of those games, the Tigers will have a 1-game lead going into the last 2 games. Now Burdack ahead on Castillo 0-2. Well, Dave Freed came up with a Houston lefty for him.
Nepper, of course.
Nepper.
How can we forget? 3-hit shutout and through 8 innings in game 6.
But they don't give out prizes after 8 innings.
Game 6, 3-hit shutout. And we scored 3 to tie. Right? 3-0.
That's exactly right.
Lenny Dykstra pinch hit off the bench. I looked at Dave and oh my God, what's he doing? Pinch hitting Lenny, a lefty against a tough left-hander who's on his game. And what did Lenny do? A lead-off triple.
Well,
had a lot of airtime.
Yeah, Billy Hatcher was.
Well, they were playing Lenny to the opposite field.
Not the world's greatest center fielder.
Well, we'll take it.
He did hit a pretty big home run later in that game, though, Billy Hatcher.
Yes, he did.
Tied the game in the 14th inning.
Mookie followed Lenny with a single just off the glove of, who was the second baseman?
Billy Doran.
Billy Doran. Heck of a player.
And Castillo down swinging. So after the leadoff triple, Burdack has back-to-back strikeouts and a chance to get through the inning.
Tough came up and grounded out, I believe. The 3rd. And I doubled to make it 3-2. I forget who hit behind. Was it Darrell or Kidd? I'm not sure. But they brought in Dave Smith.
Yeah.
And Darrell hit a home run in the 3rd deck in the Astrodome. It was fouled by around 5 feet. And Dave Smith never recovered from that. And he just completely got unnerved.
Here's Dave Clark coming out to the mound. Manager wearing batting gloves. Does that mean he's ready to put himself in the game? He's going to bring the right-hander in to face David Wright. Sammy Hervasio on in relief. This call to the bullpen brought to you by McDonald's new McCafe coffees. season. As the Mets lead the Astros 3-1 in the bottom of the 7th. And rookie right-hander Sammy Hervasio comes on to try and get the final out.
Nope, he was called up on back on August 14th. He has just allowed 1 of 19 inherited runners to score. See if he can try to extend that streak.
Called up in the middle of August and has done a very nice job for the Astros. Their bullpen has been one of their high points this year. Led by their closer Jose Valverde. They just have not gotten much support from the rest of their ball club. David Wright up for the 4th time. David's 3 for 3 tonight, all against the left-hander Wandy Rodriguez. David with 2 singles and a double. He's stolen a base, he's scored a run, he's driven in a run.
Look where Gervasio is his plant foot as he comes towards home plate. Watch where he steps. He steps towards the first base dugout.
Completely opening himself up.
Really? It's also a slinger. So I was right about everything in that game 6 scare. I doubled. And Dave Smith came in, walked Carter, walked Strawberry, load the bases. Ray Knight sack fly.
And that tied the game.
Wally came up pinching for Tuffle. They intentionally walked him. Danny Heap I thought was going to add on, and he struck out. It was just stunning. Ooh, good slider. Because Heap had a chance really to add on a run, and he was so good and clutch. But they give Dave Smith credit. Struck him out on a high fastball, if I recall. And we went on to extra innings. Thanks, Russ.
And on, and on, and on.
You got that right.
Mesmerized an entire city.
It was something else, wasn't it?
1-2 to right. And he goes down swinging at the sinker. So Hervasio comes on to strike out right. And after the leadoff trouble by Nick Evans, the Mets do not. Guy. And then Erstad, who stinks.
Look at Erstad.
191.
He's been hurt, right?
Yeah, he missed a lot. Let's take a tour of Citi Field, brought to you by Audi. Visit TriStateAreaAudiDealers.com. Nice look down the line at the Acela Club in left field, right over that Amtrak sign. There's the bridge out in right center. There are a lot of folks who love to stand out on that bridge and watch. Even if they have seats, that's just a nice congregation point from which to watch the game. You get a great view from out there. And a panoramic look at Citi Field, finishing its first year of operation. Darren Erstad bats for Humberto Quintero as Bobby Parnell comes on to pitch in the 8th inning.
Well, there's Parnell's numbers, and since it's been getting thrown back in the bullpen, he has kind of pitched a lot, not kind of, he's pitched better. As I said, I thought his last outing, the 2 innings in Washington, were the best I've seen.
Erstad sitting just 191. He has had 70 pinch hitting appearances this year, among the leaders in the National League.
Former California Angel. He was part of that World Championship Angel Club, was he not?
Former Nebraska punter.
Really? Forgot about that.
The only man ever to drive in 100 runs as a leadoff batter. It's pretty hard to do.
Ricky Henderson didn't do it, though.
No. Erstad's the only one. Standing a long way from the plate these days.
Sure is.
1-2 up and away from Parnell. Sean Green gets up in the Mets bullpen alongside Pedro Feliciano, who has already set the new club record for appearances, but has 3 more chances. Who knows, maybe he could get to 90. And Erstad lines a base hit to left center. Pagan cuts it off very nicely and holds Erstad to a single. That's a terrific play by Pagan to keep Erstad out of scoring position.
Boy, I'll say Pagan just ran that ball down. Nice hitting by Erstad right here. Fastball away, goes right with it. Pagan just motored.
There aren't too many left fielders in the National League who cut that ball off.
I tell you, he's definitely not a smart car. He got there.
He's no hybrid. So now Jeff Keppinger, the former Met, will step in. Tying run at the plate in a 3-1 game, and Parnell misses high. Keppinger hitting .259, 5 for 14 as a pinch hitter. He has shared third base with Jeff Blum for most of the year. And Parnell works him inside. It's 2-0. Bobby worked an inning and a third in Washington in the last game on Wednesday. Gave up a home run to Ryan Zimmerman, the last batter he faced. There's a strike, 2-1. Troy Hawkins on your left and the ancient Doug Brocail on your right. Is Brocail about 53 now?
Gosh, I didn't know he was that close to me.
Yeah, he's not quite that old, but he has come back from all sorts of adversity over the course of his career, Doug Brocail. Had an angioplasty 3 years ago, and now at age 42, still out there chucking. Erstad runs, Keppinger grounds one foul, so Erstad was running on 3-1. And he'll come on back.
He's not a chucker, is he?
New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Amco AA.
Beep beep.
MCO. Thank you. I was counting on you.
On command.
Bottle the sack to take it on the road. He was running 3-1. Erstad runs 3-2, and Keppinger puts it in play. Castillo with the flip in time for the force and the double play. Castillo had to be quick, and he was, with Erstad running. Nonetheless, starts the 4-6-3 double play. 2 out.
Well, we had a similar play in Washington when Anderson Hernandez opted to get the force out, but this ball was hit much harder.
Well, why didn't Erstad slide?
Oh, wow. I didn't know he was going to kill himself. He didn't. See what happens when you assume?
He wasn't expecting to play on him.
See what happens when you assume.
So now 2 out and nobody on for Michael Bourne, who's 1 for 3. Doubled back in the first, and he slashes one foul.
Good fastball by Parnell, 97. Also, when you don't slide, you slow down. And that's nicely done by Luis Castillo. Very heads up.
Was Hernandez on the back?
Well, they give him the fudge, right? Let's see.
The neighborhood play.
He's on it. That's good enough. Good enough.
Spoken like a former infielder. 0-2 to Bourne with 2 out and nobody on. Just missed with a fastball 1-2, and Parnell is throwing hard. That last one at 99 miles an hour.
He's bringing it.
This is as hard as he's thrown since that day in Boston.
Yep.
One-two. He struck him out. 98-mile-an-hour fastball against Michael Bourne, and that gets Parnell through the top of the 8th. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Beltran to lead off 3-1.
So Frankie's going to come in.
Oh, sure. Because, you know, he had 7 blown saves last year, and he has 7 blown saves this year, so he has to break his mark.
No, save it. We're going to get out of here.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Audi and your local tri-state area Audi dealers. Visit tristateareaautidealers.com. Chris Coast will come on to catch for the Astros as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. And 42-year-old Doug Brocail takes over the pitching.
Oh, like Gary said, 3 stints on the DL. Been a tough year for him. Since coming off the DL September 1st, he has not allowed a run in 11 appearances over 10 innings pitched, and he's lowered his earned run average from 6.75 to what you see there.
Carlos Beltran leads off the 8th inning. Carlos is 0 for 3. Doug Brocail first pitched in the major leagues with San Diego back in 1992. I can't think of many Major League Baseball players who have come back from having an angioplasty. It's got to be a very small list. Beltran hits one out to left center field. Back goes Lee onto the track, runs it down. El Caballo gets on his horse. 1 away.
Well, long way to run. He's got it all the way. Nice play. Should make that play.
Carlos Lee, who came to the big leagues with the Chicago White Sox, playing for Jerry Manuel. And Jerry has talked often about Lee in the same kind of context as a guy like Daniel Murphy, a guy who had a long way to go as a player, particularly defensively, but learned on the job and became a star. Here's Jeff Francoeur, who gave the Mets the lead his last time up with a 2-run homer, his 15th of the year.
And it was a curveball and a lazy one down and in, and he just got to catch a little 2-iron right there.
Got to catch that ball. I wonder if they got the ball back.
You don't deserve to have it back if you drop it like that.
You have no mercy.
That's right. Al wouldn't drop it.
By the way, it's a nice tie you're wearing today. We both went for the purple ties today.
I know.
But I have one exactly like the one you're wearing.
You do.
And I had my hand on it in the closet today to wear it, and I decided for this one instead. We could have had matching ties today if I had mean, that's a beautiful tie.
I like it. It's also this. I'm wearing a kind of a thicker fabric, or fall fabric, Arcanales.
Little houndstooth kind of thing.
Yeah, and so you got to wear a thick tie with it. You know.
You've got a great sense of that, I must say, as Frank Core bangs one up the middle for his 3rd hit of the day. So 1-out base runner for the Mets in the home 8th. There's only one place to get local news at 6:30 right here on Picks. If you haven't checked out the Picks News at 6:30, you're missing the news show that has everybody talking. The news you want at the time nobody else brings it to you. The Picks News at 6:30 weeknights right here on Picks.
That was loud.
They're just trying to make a point. Here's Fernando Tatis, who is 1 for 3 on the night. The Mets now have 10 hits in the game. Wright has 3 and Frank Core has 3. Now what you'd expect, 2 best hitters for the Mets against left-handed pitching, and a lefty started, Wandy Rodriguez, for the Astros tonight.
Looks like Wandy is in jeopardy of ending the season at 14-12. Hit and run.
And a perfectly executed one with Matsui covering. Tatis bangs it into right field, and the Mets have 1st and 3rd and 1 out. 2nd hit of the night for Tatis.
Nicely done. Goes right with it. Frank Core wasn't looking. That ball almost hit him. So I'm not so sure that was a hit and run. Let's take a look. That ball almost nailed him.
So the Mets looking for more with a 3-1 lead.
Infield back, playing for the double play.
Got Omir Santos, a double play candidate at the plate. Santos has doubled, flied out, and walked.
Boy, they're just inviting him to put a squeeze down here. Look how far back the third baseman is. Jeff Blum. Wow.
And it's in the dirt, stopped by Coast, 1-0. We're talking about Doug Brocail coming back from the angioplasty. Should note that there's a nice play there by Coast. It's not even the most serious heart difficulty that an Astro has come back from. You've got Aaron Boone sitting on the bench.
That's right.
For the Astros, who had open heart surgery this spring and has come back to action. A phenomenal story. Take it for a strike, 1-1. Back in the 70s, the Tigers had a pitcher, John Hiller, who had a heart attack and came back and pitched 9 more seasons. Look at the championship Knicks team in 1970 had Dave Stallworth, who had come back from a heart attack. So it does happen, but just not very often.
I wouldn't recommend it.
It's probably not the best career path if you have a choice.
By the way, 5-0 in St. Louis now, so it looks like Adam Wainwright has got a nice little cushion for his 20th. So rare today, huh? 6-0 now.
And with the Phillies trailing, if the Cardinals win and the Phillies lose, they will have the same record at the end of the night as they jockey for playoff home field advantage. And of course, you have the Dodgers, who started the day 1 game ahead of the Phillies and 2 games up on the Cardinals. The Rockies, who are starting a series in LA tonight with a chance, perhaps, of a sweep to pass the Dodgers and win the West.
What's that matchup there, a pitching matchup?
That's, let's see, Aaron Cook pitched last night. It's Ubaldo Jimenez and Randy Wolf. 2-2 to Santos. Cook pitched a gem to help the Rockies clinch at least a wild card berth yesterday.
Well, that's a big lift for that ball club. They lost Cook for quite some time, and you get him back throwing a solid game going into the playoffs. That's a big lift for that rotation.
It'll be interesting to see how they line up their starters for the postseason. So they've got Cook, they've got Ubaldo Jimenez, who's been pitching great. They've got Jorge De La Rosa, whose second half has been as good as anybody, and Jason Marquis.
I tell you what, the Rockies earned it. I mean, the Braves made a big rush on them, and the Rockies just didn't buckle. They got hot under Jim Tracy, and they never stopped winning.
Line to second, past Matsui and into right center field. Francoeur scores. Tatis to third. Santos hitting one that ate up Matsui, and it's 4-1 New York.
Well, Matsui makes this play. It's 2. But up hop on him, a bullet. And that's a big run in there for the Mets. And another one on third.
Second hit of the night for Santos, his 40th run batted into the season. Mets with 3 hits in the inning, now lead 4-1. Still only 1 out, and Anderson Hernandez coming up. Hernandez 0 for 3 tonight. Mets now with 12 hits in the game. The Twins have added a run on a Jason Kubel home run. They now lead Kansas City 8-0 in the 4th. While the White Sox lead the Tigers 8-0. That goes to the bottom of the 9th in Detroit.
That's going to be by a 1-game lead tomorrow, looks like, with 2 to play. Plenty of time to have Archie Bell and the Drells come into play.
Well, you remember 1999 for the Mets. They went into the final weekend trailing Cincinnati by 2 games for the wild card and wound up tied. Won a 1-game playoff to get into the postseason.
Big Al Leiter.
They swept the Pirates that final weekend. Well, the Brewers won the first 2 from the Reds, and then the last game in Milwaukee was delayed for 7 hours by rain. The Mets won the last game from the Pirates on that wild pitch by Brad Cluntz, and then had to sit around for hours. Finally got on a plane for Cincinnati, not even knowing if there was going to be a game the next day. Figuring they'd just fly on to Arizona if the Reds lost, but they won, and then the Mets beat the Reds the next night in Cincinnati in that 1-game playoff. Ricardo Alfonso had a home run in the first inning against Steve Paris to put them ahead, and Leiter did the rest.
I mean, Ricardo Alfonso was probably the greatest second baseman the Mets ever had in their history. And boy, he just hit a wall, and that was it, wasn't it? I mean, he just had outstanding years.
That same year, in the first game of the division series against the Diamondbacks, Alfonso hit the game-winning grand slam in the 9th inning of that game.
And not the same year they played the Giants?
No, that was 2000.
That was the series I'll never forget. That was a heck of a series. Well, actually, you know, Arizona was a pretty good series, too.
Well, you had, they beat Randy Johnson in the first game with Masato Yoshi starting against them. Not exactly the pitching matchup the Mets wanted, but they won. Then I think Todd Stottlemyre won the second game for Arizona. They came back to New York. The Mets took game 3, and then, of course, Todd Pratt hit that memorable series-ending home run off Matt Manti in the 4th game. 3-2 to Hernandez, and he taps one foul. 1999 was an incredible year. I know the Mets didn't make it to the World Series that year, but for a team that had not been in the postseason for 10 years, they faced elimination half a dozen times, both at the end of the regular season and in the postseason, and staved it off. Of course, they fell behind 3-0 to the Braves in the League Championship Series, got to a 6th game, came back from 5 runs down in that 6th game, sent it to extra innings, blew a couple of saves before losing it finally in the 11th inning on the Kenny Rogers walk to Andrew Jones. 3-2, and Hernandez lifts one to left. Carlos Lee right there waiting for it. Tagging at third is Tatis coming home. Here comes the throw by Lee. It's offline, and that brings home an extra run. Good at bat for Anderson Hernandez. The sacrifice fly gives the Mets a 5-1 lead.
Well, you're right about that. And Lee does everything right. He watches momentum coming forward, but he just does not have a strong arm. A little bit of a rainbow and offline. And there is Fernando scoring easily.
Well, the Mets have scored twice here in the 8th against Brookhill to make it 5-1. Now Daniel Murphy to pinch hit, and Daniel takes ball 1. So that takes away any save opportunity for Frankie Rodriguez. After he suffered the blown save on Wednesday, he certainly would have loved to have come back on and redeem himself. Probably will pitch the 9th inning anyway. Although Sean Green is up now in the Mets bullpen. 2-0 to Murphy. There's Sean, so it looks like he'll pitch the 9th rather than K-Rod. 3-0 to Murphy. Brookhill struggling here in the 8th. There's a strike, 3-1. If I had had a beard when I was 42, it would have had a lot more gray in it than Doug Brookhill does. You don't suppose he uses
no, he doesn't.
Your stuff.
No, because he's got gray in there.
But you can leave a little gray.
No, that Just for Men will take care of it. You put it on, it's a sayonara. See you later, baby. Say goodbye to gray. No play. Only Walt can do it. No play for Mr. Gray.
Santos will run and Murphy fouls it off. Oh gosh. Yeah. One of the advantages of having very little hair. One of the less to go gray.
One of the great things about doing those commercials is that we're always on site somewhere, and we've got a big camper RV that we in between shoots, and there's always a lot of downtime where they change the lighting and the cameras, and so we sit and it's fun to sit and talk with Walt, who's a terrific guy, as you know. And I always just prod him with the basketball stories. And he's, you know, about the Knicks and who was the toughest guy that ever guarded him and all that. You know who he said the toughest man ever guarded him was? Jerry Sloan.
Oh, I believe that.
He said Jerry Sloan was so big.
Right, 6'7".
He said he would pick him up full court the whole game. He goes, and I was literally worn out after a game because he was so physical.
Jerry, of course, played for the Bulls most of his career. Again, the 3-2, and Murphy hits one to deep right field. Back goes Pence, going back near the track, looking up, and it's off the Pepsi porch for a home run. Daniel Murphy, who introduced us to the home run off the Pepsi porch, hits his 12th home run of the year. On a 2-run shot, it comes as a pinch hitter, and the Mets have broken it open and lead 7-1.
Well, nicely done, Murph. The one thing Murph has is a very short stroke. And that's why I think he will hit. He's made great strides this year. It's been a tough midseason for him. Oh, nicely done, Daniel. Too much plate, middle end. He's learned to pull a little more. And he
off the corner there.
Yep.
Remember the first one he hit off the Pepsi porch had to go through video review before being upheld. Now Murphy with his 12th home run, which is the club lead. As Pagan breaks his bat and has a base hit, so the Mets keep on hitting. That's 5 hits in this 8th inning, and Pagan's second hit of the game. The fewest home runs ever to lead the Mets is 12. That happened in 1977, so that will not be outflanked this year, as Murphy has reached an even dozen.
Well, good for Daniel. And he's going off to winter ball to get some more at-bats and play more first base. Sprouting a little goatee there. I don't know if you call that a goatee. A goatee usually got to have the mustache to go with it. What would you call that?
Chin strap?
Van Dyke?
But Van Dyke's more pointed, right?
Yes. Dutch Masters.
Vermeer. Don't forget, right after we're done here, you can flip it over to SNY for continuing coverage with Lincoln Mercury post-game live after this game and after every Mets game on SNY. 2-1 to Castillo, who's 0 for 4 on the night. Well, this was a 1-1 game till the 6th, but Frank Core hit a 2-run homer. Mets have added 4 runs here in the 8th, capped by Murphy's pinch hit 2-run homer. Castillo to center field, and Michael Bourne puts it away. The inning is over, but the Mets sent 8 men to the plate and score 4 times. Daniel Murphy with the big blow off the Pepsi porch. A 2-run pinch hit shot for his 12th and for a 7-1 Met lead.
Oh, tell a fan to come on down and go. You're too big. I'm sorry. I don't think you're getting any takers.
Ooh. Oh. When the Gatorade's fault.
Well, it's all right. Oh, well. Oh, he's hot.
Looks like he's angry at the world.
Oh, there goes another one.
Double Gatorade.
Oh, oh well.
Well, Mr. Broquel.
He'll sleep good tonight.
Letting it all hang out. Sean Green comes on to try and get the final 3 outs. Miguel Tejada leads off in the 9th inning and takes a strike. Tejada 1 for 3, singled back in the 1st.
Well, it's always good to get it off your chest here. As you see Sean Green's numbers, throwing sidearm now, got that ERA well under 5 at 470. Sure, he's very happy about that.
It'll be Tejada, Berkman, and Lee for the Astros in the 9th inning. John Maine went the first 7, allowed just a run on 5 hits, and he stands to get his 7th win of the year. To the right side for Tatis. Green covers, 1 out of the 9th. We've got big news for Smallville fans. The episode of your favorite show scheduled to air tonight here on Picks will air tomorrow at 8 p.m. instead. So don't miss a minute of the high-flying action. Catch this week's all-new Smallville on a special night tomorrow at 8. Right here on Picks. Lance Berkman to bat with 1 out of the 9th inning.
Lance 1 for 3 on the night with a run scored and 2 punch-outs. How many career home runs does he have now at 25? Maybe check. Report back. I will.
Final in Detroit. White Sox beat the Tigers 8-0.
Oh, so there it is
for you. How about that? 313.
Wow, well, that's pretty good, isn't it? But there's a 4-3 in your scorecard.
And easy 2 outs for Sean Green. And so the Astros are down to their final out of the night. So the Tigers have lost. The Twins are up 10-0 on Kansas City as they go to the 5th inning. So barring a meltdown by the Twins, they will be 1 game behind the Tigers at the end of the night.
And that's very dicey right there. That's looking over your shoulder. But you know what? It's in the hands of the Tigers. Tigers win, they can't be caught.
If they wind up tied, the Twins won the season series from the Tigers, so they would have the home field advantage for a 1-game playoff. But the wrinkle there is that the game is supposed to be played Monday, but the Metrodome is occupied. The Vikings are playing on Monday night, so they would have to play that game sometime Tuesday. And then whoever wins would have to jump right into the division series on Wednesday.
I have a feeling it won't come to that.
What do you think's going to happen?
I think Detroit's going to hang on.
The Tigers have a youngster starting their game tomorrow against Freddie Garcia and the White Sox. It's going to be interesting to watch the last 2 days. Right back to Green. And the ball game is over. A 1-2-3 inning for Sean Green to finish it off. And the Mets begin the final weekend of the season with a victory as they beat the Astros 7-1. John Mayne's 6th consecutive victory in his last 6 starts at Citi Field. Jeff Francoeur with 3 hits, including a 2-run homer. David Wright, 3 hits, including an RBI double.